Okay, we need to talk about a book that people are obsessed with. And I did not like it at all, not even a little bit. And I know that is a really dangerous thing to say about The Silent Patient because people ride for this book. They defend it. They recommend it like it's a personality trait. And yet, here I am, confused, unconvinced, but annoyed. But here's the problem Betty has a different opinion. What a shock.
I know, shocker. Okay, I need everyone to just take a breath, especially you, Bonny, because I already know what's about to happen. I love this book, the tension, the atmosphere, the way it quietly builds and builds until everything clicks into place. I finished it and I couldn't wait to talk about it. And the twist, I'm sorry, but that absolutely worked for me, like fully. Did I see it coming? Nah, didn't. Did I sit there like, wait, hold on. Yes. So today I'm here to defend The Silent Patient with my whole chest. Because if you love psychological thrillers that mess with your head, this one deserves the hype. And apparently I'm going to have to prove that. Okay, Slayers, let's slay this book.
Welcome back to Book Slayers, the podcast where we read the same book and then we absolutely never agree on it. Which basically means today's episode is a psychological thriller and a psychological battle between me and her. So if you've read The Silent Patient and you have strong opinions, you're going to want to stay for this. Coming up today with opinions, questions, and honestly, a little frustration. And I'm joined by Betty, who is about to defend this book like it's her job. Today, we'll deep dive in The Silent Patient, the thriller that had everyone talking, gasping, and recommending, and in my case, side-eyeing. We're breaking the plot, the twist, what worked, and what absolutely did not. And most importantly, is this actually a brilliant psychological thriller, or is it really good at convincing people?
We love reading all your comments you leave us on the podcast. So if you're enjoying our crazy unhinged book talk, don't forget to follow, comment, subscribe, and share your favourite episodes with all of your Book Slayer besties.
Don't forget, if you like things a little more unhinged and after dark in its fantastical ism, you should definitely be joining us over on our Patreon, where we hold nothing back. Now let's get into this. Okay, look, I get it. Okay, I get that people love this book. I get that they seem to think that this is the best thing since sliced bread. I don't agree. I don't. I do not agree. No.
Went into this knowing that you hated it, but also I liked Gone Girl and you didn't, so I wasn't too worried about that. I also have a friend that read it and also two-starred it. Don't joke. It's fine. I also had a friend that read it. They two-starred it, so I was like, and me and him are normally quite on point together, so I was like, I didn't find it too slow. I know you did. I felt like it worked. There was a point in the book where I got a little bit confused because it reads as if it's the same timeline, but I never read it like that. I kind of was reading it as if it was a dual timeline. I don't know where I got it from, but that's how I naturally went through it. So I wasn't. But halfway through, I got a bit confused with Theo's point of view because I was like, hang on. One, is it still Theo? Because I realised that his name hadn't been mentioned or no one had used his name. And I was like, shit, have I missed something? And this is a trick and it's not Theo's point of view. I thought it might be another character, but halfway through. And also then I was like, oh, is it supposed to be a dual timeline? But I think other people, they're the other way around where it seems like it's the same timeline, but it's actually dual timeline. So that didn't confuse me. I did not see the ending coming. I'm dying to know how on chapter 4 you knew the exact ending. Because I've got thoughts on what I felt at that point, which I'll tell you, but I want to know how you knew.
Well, we're going to come to that. Like, we're going to get through some stuff first because I'm going to explain to you exactly how I knew. I'm going to explain. But I want to start with the twist, okay? Because people talk about this bloody twist like it's the Sistine Chapel, okay? Like it's some kind of mega feat. Firstly, it wasn't mind-blowing, okay? I'm sorry. If you didn't see that coming, I've got a bridge to sell you, okay? I've got bottled air. I'm not joking. I don't know how anyone didn't see it coming. I don't, okay? And it was so okay, psychological thriller is where you're building up the tension and things are gonna come in and you're gonna be like, you can see the layers coming in. There was no layers. It was flat. It was like, man. And Theo was a twat, okay? What a fucking knob end. I didn't enjoy any of his POV at all. Didn't like it, and we were kind of stuck with him. So that was really annoying. But I was waiting for a build up to this twist. It was just kind of like, meh. And I was like, oh, here. It was just him explaining what happened too. And I'm like, oh my fucking God. You loser. You're pathetic.
Wow, we have such. I don't know if it's because you've read so many books that we have a difference. I've obviously only got into like really reading a lot in the last couple of years. But to me, the way that I felt about it was I knew from the beginning that Theo weren't right. It didn't sit right with me. Obviously, he already had a job in another, like, I can't remember what the place was, but he was a psychotherapist in another place. I want to say Broadmoor, but it's not Broadmoor, I don't think. I don't know where that came from. But it's like a really like the best place to work if you're that kind of person. And he basically changes jobs because he's a bit obsessed with Alicia and her story, and she's kind of like the holy grail of like psychotherapists. Like everyone wants to know like why she just committed this crime and then just didn't speak. But I was still like, but you've left the best job in the world. But then I likened it to, well, if you got to work with your famous celebrity. But it still didn't sit right with me. I knew he was in it from the beginning, and I knew he was part of it. He was part of what happened. And I was convinced it was just him the whole way through. The twist bit at the end, which I think is what people talk about, is we'll get onto that I didn't see coming. So I don't know. I didn't hate the story. At one point, I thought it was slightly weird that we kept going back to this storyline with him and Kathy, his girlfriend, who he's finding out is cheating on him. And I was kind of like, what relevance is this? To like what's happening with finding out what happened with Alicia and why she killed her husband. That halfway I got slightly confused of, which is why it wasn't a 5-star, because I couldn't quite grasp the relevance. It didn't flow as well as what I wanted it to, for me to be totally into like both the timeline bits of the story. But the end made up for it because it did explain it all and why. Yeah, but it did. It had to be like.
Yeah, but it didn't. Well, a psychological thriller is supposed to build you up to this tension, and the crescendo of what the plot is, you're supposed to go, oh, fuck me. I mean, I was like, so
I
what?
did though.
Yeah,
I did
okay.
at the end.
I don't know.
Did it.
I read a lot of psychological thrillers. That's like the genre I always go back to is psychological thrillers. I read a lot of crime fiction. And I know the difference between the two. Crime fiction set the crime out and you plod along finding it. Well, that's exactly what The Silent Patient did, except it didn't have any crime in it until we find out what happened at the end because the crime had already happened. So it didn't even meet psychological thriller as far as I was concerned. And it certainly didn't meet crime fiction. So it was misgenred as far as I was concerned. It was a story about this woman's already been institutionalized for killing her husband and she's not talking. And it was him going, oh, let's try and figure out why. Fuck off. How's that a thriller? He wasn't terrorizing her. That's what you would expect from a psychological thriller, that he would be there with this intent of like doing weird stuff to her. Like he wants to go in there and like experiment on her. That would have been thrilling, not what happened.
Yeah, I guess when I read a book, I think I don't get caught up in the different types of thrillers, I guess, as long as it's that kind of vibe.
Yeah.
But like you're like a reviewer, so I think these things are probably more important to you than what it is to me. So I just like to read a book. I suppose you could call it a kind of mystery, like what's happening, like why isn't she talking? That was my biggest thing, like why is she not speaking? So if it was labeled differently, would you have liked it better then?
Yeah. I went in expecting something. No, probably, and you're probably right. I would have said yes. It's probably more of a mystery thriller. And if I'd have gone in with that anticipation, I wouldn't have and the twist would have been a nice surprise at the end, and I probably would have 4-starred it. But I went in there expecting to have my brain interfered with, and I didn't get that. I was expecting to start like mistrusting my reality. I was expecting like looking at side-eyeing at Mike and going, what are you up to? But I didn't get none of that shit. And I think my biggest problem the first time around was I own it. I paid full price for a hardcover when it first came out. And that was back when I didn't have a lot of money. Like buying a brand new book was like, that was a treat. You know what I mean? Now it's like every fucking day. But back then, and then it really disappointed me. And I was really upset. And maybe that even factored into it. And I went in with a new set of eyes and I didn't up my star rating at all. I didn't.
No,
Because
at all.
actually, I found it worse this time around because I could see even more gaps. I saw all the things I missed.
Well, do you know what? This is why I was like, so once I finished it, like I said, I 4-starred it because I think you might be right, maybe sort of a bit flat in the middle. Like maybe I was feeling that, but I didn't associate it with like the genre of the book. But I always like to go to Goodreads after and check things. You're like, what do other people think and what do they say? So when you say there was gaps, where was the gaps for you? Because I couldn't actually find anything tangible online that I was like, oh yeah, that didn't make sense.
Well, firstly, like one of the biggest gaps in the story for me was this the whole I know you were talking about the thing with like the girlfriend at the time and what was going on with her. Well, he never went home and talked about what was going on. And obviously that was because the timeline was completely different. It would have been easy to understand why this storyline was coming if it had separated it into two actual timelines. And it didn't do that. So the first big problem was that he didn't have any friends to talk to. All we were getting was like his dialogue in a dialogue, and it didn't make sense sometimes. And I guess the reason why it didn't make sense for the most part was because it was two different Theos, right? Like one was
Yeah.
earlier. Because that would she was in jail for ages, right? 8 years when he went there? 5, 8 years, something like that. So the
How
time
long?
so for me, some of the things that were missing were the character development because Theo was exactly the same in each timeline, and that really grated on me. So not developing him as a person to find out why he did what he did. And he wasn't really I don't want to spoil it yet. Like we're not at the end yet. So for me, it was like he said why he was doing it, but then when he got to the end, that's not what he was up to. You know what I mean? It didn't match. Like he
Yeah.
said, I'm there to help her. We find out why he wanted to be there to help her, but that's not really what was happening. He was there to close that gap to make sure she couldn't talk. So for that, for me, there should have been clues. There was
I
to
don't
have
know if I agree with that because she didn't know him as a person. So she could never have sort of spoke about what he was to do with like the main bit of what happened. Like she wouldn't have been able to identify him. She wasn't speaking. Because that was one of my questions at the end. I was like, why didn't he just leave well enough alone? Like he's got away with his part of what happened. So why did he go back? But I think, again, we're going to spoil the end, but without his part in it, maybe things wouldn't have played out. And I think that he genuinely didn't know that she had mental health issues already. And he wanted to help her deal with that because he felt like he put that on her. I do think it was a guilt thing. I do think
no,
he
I
felt
don't think so at
responsible for
all.
and what happened. But also, I think he wanted to clear his own conscience of why she did it. Was it only because of what he did, or was there like a bigger part? And I feel like he thinks that there was a bigger part in it, and if she wasn't already mentally unstable, then that wouldn't have happened, and then he could clear his own conscience. That's what I
See,
think.
I don't think so because if you think about the logic here, okay, I think it's because he knew that that guy that he used to work with worked at that place. There was a chance that she would start to talk. Otherwise, why would you go in there under the anticipation? She'd already didn't recognize him. Although I don't actually agree with that. She flew
No,
at
I
him
don't.
in chapter 4. She
Yeah, she
flew
knew.
at him, right? And she starts attacking him. That right there should have told him, hey, she does recognize me. Something has triggered her off. And I think when he said he was scared, that's why he was there. He wanted to know whether she did. And if she started to get better and said, well, this guy broke into my house and this is where this all started, they would start looking for him.
Yeah,
So
but
I
she
think
can't identify him. She doesn't know him. He wore a balaclava. She can't identify him. They've never had any contact before this, so she can never identify him. Plus, you think all them years later, there's nothing to tie him now to this crime unless he's already committed a crime, which we don't get told that he has. So there's nothing identifying him. I think it's a little bit of what I've just said earlier, but also maybe, like if you commit a crime and you go back to the crime, like the person just needs to see what's going on. There's like a few things. I think he is also mentally like obviously fucked up in the head, as we find out a bit later. But Yeah, it's very that's why it didn't 5-star for me, because some of it didn't make sense, because he could have just left well alone. And then no story. Also, I didn't like that she wasn't speaking, and when she did speak, he was like, "Why haven't you spoke before?" And she's just like, "Didn't really have anything to say." Like, what?
No, that's
But
why
obviously traumatized and whatever, but yeah, didn't
I think if
I
it
wanted
was me, if I was that person and I was in there because I committed a crime, I probably wouldn't talk either. I don't know. I wouldn't wanna get out, I guess. She seemed like she was pretty happy being drugged up and, you know.
well, that's the other thing as well, isn't it? Like, is it most of the time she didn't talk because she was so drugged up, it's just
Yeah.
like, this is just
That's
easy.
what I mean, 'cause she was on a lot of drugs when they're
Yeah.
explaining it and he's like, "We need to pull that." How would you talk if you're so doped up? I probably wouldn't bother either. Someone's feeding me
And
Jello
also,
cubes or
even
whatever.
if you did talk at that point, which I know she didn't, but no one would believe anything or any, because you're so off your head. It wouldn't even matter if you spoke at that point, you could be saying anything. Should we talk about some of the other characters that are in this care home? Because I've got a bit of a funny thing, but
Yeah,
you've
tell me.
mentioned, well, my funny one, I'm gonna go in with the funny one. I didn't know how to pronounce this name the whole way through. Elif? Elif? I just kept thinking Elf the whole way through. No, Elif is like the other crazy patient who at
Yeah,
the end is like dealing. Is that how
yeah.
you say it? I think that's it, it's Elif. And I was like, I wonder what. Look, well, actually, before I do that, the character of Elif, who do you? It doesn't even sound like a word. The more I say it, it's a Turkish name. How do you imagine that character looked? It's obviously female, but it's like described as like quite physically imposing. So I'd imagine like quite big.
Yeah.
We'd say hench, fucking hench. Like she's a big girl. So I was like, because I was preparing for today, and I was like, I don't know how to say the name, which I still can't remember now. And I was like, I wonder what the name means. So bearing in mind, I don't know if this is purposely done by Alex. I don't think it's meant to be funny, but I think it's either the first letter of the alphabet in Turkish or slender. I just found that really funny. I was like, are you trying to be funny? Are you trying to be ironic? And I
You
think
know what?
maybe,
He's a bit of a
yeah,
jokester, so I can
that was,
believe that.
yeah, that just really made me laugh. But she was a bit of a crazy character, especially at the end. The whole drug dealing thing was quite funny to me. What was the other characters? Yuri, the other guy that like left all the patients and then
Yeah,
was drug dealing with Elif.
yeah.
By the way, where's she getting the money to pay him off for these drugs? That's what I want to know. Surely he's getting some
Yeah.
money. I think money changed hands at the end.
Well, if she's dealing, well, who is she dealing to? Is she getting money for that?
Oh, so she's taking it on tick, and then
I
she's
probably on sick.
on tick.
Is that a
And
drug dealer term? On sick.
it is.
Like on consignment.
Yeah, but then she's selling to other patients, so where are they getting the money from?
I don't know. This
Whole
is, you
other
know what?
story.
There's one of those plot holes I was talking about. One of those plot holes. Maybe they're dealing in Jello cups or like puddings or
Yeah, but what's
sugar
Yuri
packet.
getting out of it then?
Sex, maybe
I'm sure there was some with hench Elif.
with Slender.
What did Yuri look like? We don't know. No, I'm pretty sure at the end, like money changed hands. I'm not
Oh, there you
100%.
go.
Don't quote me. Or read the book. Christian. What did we think of Christian?
It was a twat. But
I thought
I
it was
just,
me.
he just, I don't know. I didn't like the fact that, like, the more that we learned about Alicia, it's Alicia, right? Because I listened to the audio, but I could have sworn they were saying Alicia, and that's freaking me out. I'm like, which is
Do you know what though? My mum is Alicia, and that's exactly how you spell her name. But other people who don't know her very well or just know her from work will call her Alicia. I think even Gemma calls her Alicia. People pronounce
really
Gemma always calls her Alicia. Yeah. I can't
weird.
wait for it to text me and be like, no, I fucking don't. I'll be like, oh, sorry, but I'm sure she does. But like my mum is Alicia, but it is French. So I don't know if it's different because our nan named all of her kids like French names, didn't she, basically? But
That's so
anything,
fucking weird, man.
I know. Yeah.
Bizarre.
When I was reading it though, I don't know, this is obviously me being weird, and obviously Alicia's a bit of a mouthful even in your head. At the beginning, I just kept saying Alice. Do you remember that song? Alice, Alice, who the fuck is Alice?
Alice? Yeah.
4 years. No, don't put that in. Don't put me in singing.
Well, it's not getting cut.
You remember
I
that
don't cut
song, though?
that in. It's funny because Christian, just was for me the embodiment of the dead husband, like the douche club.
Yeah.
And that's just how I felt about it all the way through. And I don't like when there's no likable characters. I didn't like, I'm going to call her Alicia because I'm pretty sure it's how the audiobook was saying it.
That's
I didn't
fine.
like Alicia. I did not like Theo. I did not like the husband. I did not like Christian. I didn't like anybody. And I think that's another reason why I need somebody to like in a book. And there was no one. No one.
Do
I
you know
didn't feel
what?
sympathy for Alicia. I didn't feel sympathy for Theo. I didn't feel sympathy for the dead husband. Couldn't give a shit.
Do you know what? I feel like we've had this conversation before, and I think in some books, absolutely, you need to like some characters. But I think with a lot of psychological thrillers, I'm not too fussed if I like them. I just want to know the story. And I think this is how we're sometimes different in how we read books. Like, I don't need to always like really root for a character. I just want to know, I want to know the answer. I want to know what happens. That's my goal. I don't give a shit if I like them. I mean, if there's a real arsehole, I probably like them more because it's more interesting because I'm fucking weird.
You
But
are weird.
I don't care if I don't like anybody particularly.
But you do not need somebody to win at the end. You not need there to be some kind of conclusion where things have turned out exactly the way they were supposed to. Like, I understand that Theo, like, so this is one of the tropes in the book, is that he had childhood trauma. Like, there was some horrible things in his childhood that kind of made things the way they were. But I didn't care. I didn't care.
No, I don't care.
I didn't care.
I think your question a second ago, I want the truth. That's it. I don't care who they
Very
are.
Sherlock.
I want the truth. Yeah.
I don't
Have
know.
my
I
hat
need
on and
I
I'm
need
trying to
something
work
to
it
care
out.
about.
And I want to read a book and be like, can I guess the end? And as much as we know Theo is to do with the end, and I was sure that Alicia was absolutely she didn't actually do it. And I was sure it was Theo the whole time. And I thought that was the twist. When I think I got to about chapter 6, and then I remembered our conversation was like, oh, she's asked if I've worked out. And I'm like, well, yeah, it's Theo. It's quite clearly that he's involved in it, even though we're not supposed to think he is. But then I'm like, are we supposed to think he is? But then at the end, obviously, we've got a
Yeah.
different story.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I feel like I might have literally walked down exactly the path that Alex wanted me to.
Yeah.
And
You did. He led you like a little flipper. He led you. See,
I was going to say like a bitch, but yeah, he led me.
it's funny because I always thought she did it.
No,
I always, you know why though? Because I've read so many bloody books where it's really hard to commit somebody of a crime if there's not physical evidence. And because they didn't tell us why they put her away, like gunpowder residue on the hands, or they didn't give us any of that information, I knew she did it. I knew.
did she
Because all
actually
they
go
said was that her lawyer managed to convince them that she wasn't within her right mind. Well, that tells me that they had evidence to prove that she did do it.
fuck, I missed that.
Yeah. But that's why I was like, by chapter 4, because I'm like, I didn't understand where Theo came into it until chapter 4 when she flew at him. And I'm like, she knows you, motherfucker. She knows
Yeah.
she knows you. And that's why you're fucking scared right now. And I'm like, you were there. Now, I thought there was a good chance that maybe they were having an affair and that she was so doped up. Like, I didn't have the complete specifics. But then as the story went on with Kathy, I'm like, you know what? Something's really weird here. Something's really weird. But I knew full well that she committed that murder. Chapter 4. I knew it. I had no shadow of a doubt that it wasn't her.
You've just called me Sherlock, but you are because you've picked that up, that one little thing. Because I didn't even really think, I don't even remember reading that she went, oh no, she didn't go to prison. She went straight to the nut house. They've convinced her. I've totally glazed over that. But actually, really clever. You should join the police, I think.
They have really horrible coffee. That was the one thing I do remember is that the police here, for example, are just like, oh, the coffee sucks.
Say that. It's always on TV, isn't it? The coffee's
Yeah,
always
like
shit.
they're always eating donuts and drinking coffee. I'd be really
Do our
fat then.
police not deserve nice coffee? Buy your
Yes.
own fucking donuts, by the way, but coffee. Come
Yeah.
on. It's like a rite of
But no,
passage.
I knew she did it because it takes so much. The defense, it's the prosecution's job to prove they did it. It's the defense's job to sit there and have them basically lay out the crime. So they had to have done that because otherwise, if her defense lawyer was worth their weight in salt, they wouldn't have taken that deal. So I knew she did
Wow.
it.
You're
I knew she did it.
amazing. Did not pick that up. I'd like to know if anyone else picks this up, by the way. If you did, comment on this episode, because I would like to know how many super sleuths we've got listening, because I totally did not get there.
I just
I
read
was
too many
it
of
was
these.
Theo, but can we do the twist now? Because
Go ahead.
when it happens at the end, right, and we know that Theo's found out that Kathy's cheating on him. He's followed, he's seen Kathy with Gabriel. As soon as that happened, I was like, I knew who it was and I knew what had happened at that point, and I knew it was him following them home and he was the stalker. It clicked very quickly, but it's obvious because he's basically he's already led me there. Do you know what I mean? I didn't work anything out. Yeah. But when the end happened and he was in there, I fully thought that he was going to be the one that did it. But then I was like, but how did she get free? And then like all these little, because it happens not like really fast, but it does happen quite quickly when you find out. And obviously he shoots the gun once and then he leaves her with the gun. Why did he leave the gun, by the way?
Because he wanted her to kill him. He was going to do it. He was going to strangle him and kill him. But he literally psychologically manipulated her into doing it. Because
Do you think he did too?
Yeah, he did. Because he turned around and said, you can save her. Like you can only save one of you to Gabriel. And he didn't say a damn word. So Alicia knew that he's not going to say anything because he can kill her. Gabriel didn't care.
I like what Alex does when he brings in the Greek mythology things.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was in The Maidens when we read that. That was one of our second episodes. If you want to go back and listen to that, if you enjoyed Alex's book. But the whole story with, I don't know how to say this fucking name, Sitis and Admeta, I can't say them. There's a name in the book and it's basically a Greek it's a Greek play, right? It's not just the Prosecco. I actually can't speak. It's a Greek play, which is actually, I think it's quite an unusual one because it happens and it has like a bit of a happier ending rather than like a tragedy. In the play, the guy's going to die, but he can sub someone out to die for him. He's a king.
Exactly.
And he asks his parents and the parents are like, nah, not doing it. And his wife volunteers. So the wife does die. And then he's really sad. And then Hercules saves her and fights someone to bring him back from the dead. But she can't speak for 3 days. So I'm guessing the whole idea from this book comes from that. And he's like, I imagine he's very into like Greek tragedies and stuff. And I quite like the spin that he does and uses that because it actually makes me go and learn something. I mean, I can't learn the names, but I can learn what happens. Because I wasn't I've never like looked into like Greek things, the Roman things, apart from like things you learn in primary school. So actually it gives me not homework, that's the wrong word, but it gives me something to go and think about afterwards. And I into the story, which I think is quite cool. Do you like that about his books?
I like the way that he puts his stories together. I actually quite enjoyed that as well. It's very poetic. I like the thing. Okay. So for me, the pacing of the book was like blah, 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 blah. And all of a sudden he rushed to the end. It was like all the excitement happened in the last like part of the book. And I feel like that, if he'd have kept the pace and then gave us this big explosion, it would have impacted me more. I was like, great, whatever. I'm glad this is over. Painful.
I quite liked it because I really thought Theo was going to be the one to do it. And then what I liked, sounds weird. What I liked is that she didn't even have like a second thought. She just kind of stood up and just shot him 5 times in the face. Which is quite...
Because he was willing to let her die because he was a dirty fucking cheat. So not only was he cheating on her with somebody else and treating her really poorly because he was a fucking terrible husband, this guy's like, you can save her life by exchanging places. And he didn't do it. Could you imagine as a wife finding out that there's a man in your house because your husband's a fucking whore and that he wouldn't even save your life for the mistake he made? Fuck that. I would have shot him 10 times. And
the other thing
nuts.
to add to it is it's really triggering for her because she overheard her dad say when she was younger, because her mum died, and she overheard her dad say to her aunt, I wish that my kid had died rather than my wife. That's got to be brutal. Like, what kind of asshole says that? I was going to go for the C word then, but I'm trying to be good today. Yeah, that's got to be fucking brutal, isn't it?
It's horrible. It's abuse, okay? There's no other way around it. It is is abuse. And he's supposed to be the one person that she has in the whole entire world that's supposed to love her no matter what. That's her
Like,
person. And to know that your husband's a dirty fucking skank as well, like, I'm sorry. Like, if I cheated on Mike, I would never do that. If I cheated on Mike and then the woman or man, the wife came in and was just like, "Hey, you can save your husband after you slept with mine by letting me kill you." I go, "Yes, I deserve this. Why
you
should he
always
die
put
for my mistake?"
yourself in the firing line over someone that you love that much, which it just
Yeah,
kind of proves he didn't love her, which we already knew because he
exactly.
was fucking cheating on her. Because if you love someone, you don't fucking do that.
You don't fucking cheat ever. You have a conversation that you're not happy and you fucking leave.
So in the whole, obviously we know now that Alicia pulled the trigger, but who's more to blame in this story? Is it Theo or is it Alicia? Because he gave her the gun. He set her up.
And he's not okay, so the way it works in actual crimes is that he is an accessory to the crime, because he knew it was gonna happen. He provided the weapon. He could still go to jail for that. He would be liable for that.
Yeah, as long as what she would.
But if that was me, okay, and someone come into my house and did this on, like, Mike in the situation, I know I wouldn't pull that trigger. I'd be like, "We are done. We are over."
Yeah, I
Like, you
think
don't
the only reason that she did it is she already had all this other built up trauma. I don't think anyone else in their right mind. I think you both just be quite relieved that you're still both alive. You wouldn't be like, actually, motherfucker, bang.
Yeah,
Like
exactly. You
a
don't go
normal
fucking
person wouldn't do that.
no.
But that's what I'm saying. Who's more to blame? Because he doesn't know she's got this pre-existing like mental trauma. So they're both to blame, aren't they? It's not just one, but she's the one that pulled the trigger and then just kept her
Now
mouth shut for you because of the trauma.
yeah, but I think if you think about the logic here, okay? So if she had been in a courtroom and she remembered there was a person there, that's why because they never could explain why there was a sixth shot. Like, if you remember that, it was 6 shots, but only 5 hit him. She managed to hit him
Yeah.
5 times in the face, but 1 went awry. Like, no, that was a big clue right there. Now, if she had been in her mind to say, there was somebody there, he didn't want to save me and I snapped and I shot him, she would have got a much lesser sentence because there would have been somebody else comparable for that. But she still would have gone to jail. That wouldn't have
Yeah.
changed anything. Now, she would have ended up in an asylum, but they would have rehabilitated her enough. But it didn't look like to me that that asylum was even doing that. They were drugging them out
No.
of their fucking eyeballs and leaving them to it.
And it was kind of getting run down, wasn't it? One of the sort of big things in the book is so he's left one like this great job to go to this shit job, and they're like, we might get shut down soon, which was like another massive red flag. It's like you wouldn't jump ship to that, like you've got a massive agenda. But I think that's what the author was trying to do. It's like I'm setting Theo up, and I totally fell for it. And
Yeah.
it is actually her, and you don't believe it's her because she's just silent, as if like she's like bearing. But
Yeah, but
I
she
like
also
it.
but if you look at her, like, for me, this was one of my big problems with the book too. So she was more of a concept as far as I was concerned. She didn't feel like a real character. There was no real definition. She was an interesting idea, if you like. She stops speaking after she commits this crime. I really enjoyed that part of it, but when they start taking her off the meds, she does get really fucking violent. If you look at what, like, she attacks that,
Yeah,
she sticks,
totally.
come on, she sticks a fucking paintbrush in her eyeball. Tells you right there that she's really unglued. She's not, she didn't just shoot somebody and that was it. Like, she's got violent undertones to her whole persona.
Yeah, 100%. Oh, yeah, she's totally mental, but I feel like she already had this in her, and then what happened awakened it in her. They've drugged her, and it's like, it's not gone. She's still absolutely fucking batshit crazy.
She's
What did
bonks.
you think about? Sorry, I'm going to change the subject. What did you think about the neighbor,
I liked her. I lied. There is somebody I liked. I really enjoyed her.
Yeah, but do you know what? Me sat here with a drink. She's my kind of girl, isn't she? But her name made me laugh a little bit. It's probably like Barbara rather than Barbie, but
Yeah. But
just,
it's funny because, like, I really despised, like, I liked what happened to Gabriel at the end, because because I think, you know what, the why I went from 1 star to 2 star, I really enjoyed Alicia's diary, and I actually for the most part, trusted the things that she was saying. And when she's talking about, like, there's somebody watching, right? Like, there's somebody there. And the only person who believed her was Barbie.
Yeah, that's true. Didn't think of it like that. I just liked her as like the annoying, nosy neighbour who just wants to have fun and come round for a drink. And she's like, oh, fuck off.
That would be
Fuck
me,
off,
I
you're.
think. I
I
think that
know.
would be me if I didn't have, like, really quiet freaks living either side.
Oh, no, I've got a great neighbour. One
Yeah.
side.
No, I've got, like, these 2 young people moved in next door. They're so fucking quiet that half the time I'm certain they don't live there. And, we have old people this side, and all he keeps doing is complaining about the fence.
They've got not much else to think about. That's the
No,
problem
well, he's retired.
about that. I just wanted to mention really quickly, because I quite enjoyed The Maidens. I would say, I don't know what I rated Maidens. I would say it was probably 3 to 4 stars. This one I enjoyed 4 stars. He has got a third book called The Fury. Have you
I know,
read
I read
it?
it.
I feel
I
like you
did.
have.
I'm part of Celadon. I'm part of their influencer program, and they do reading groups where they buddy up different bookstagrammers, and we read it together before it comes out. Yeah, I did the Furies for that one.
Very nice. Oh,
Yeah,
that's a nice thing.
yeah, it's great.
I wanted to check that book. So I was like, right, 2, because I didn't know how many books he had. I think he's just got the 3, right?
I think so. Yeah.
As far as I know, as far as I've only like Amazoned and like Googled a bit. But I was like, does every book have something to do with Greeks? Because I think he's Greek Cypriot. And The Fury, I didn't read a lot of it, but I will keep an eye on it. I'm not going to get it just yet because I went to the charity bookshops today. I went to 2 and I come out with 8 books. So I need to read them, as well as all the Kindle books, as well as all the other ones that I've already bought this year that I haven't read. Yeah, it's set in Greece, so I do presume that it is that. So if you like that vibe and you like Alex's books, I would definitely recommend doing that one if you haven't already done The Maidens as well. Would you recommend his books actually? Oh, you liked The Maidens?
I liked The Maidens. The Fury was better. That was his, for me, I'm pretty sure I gave that one 4.5 stars. I'm not saying that he's not a brilliant author. I'm not saying that at all. There was a lot of problems with this book. It was a debut. So The Silent Patient was his debut novel. I could see the problems. I think it was misgenred, and I really fucking hate that. But The Maidens was great. The Fury was brilliant. So yeah, I highly recommend him. It's the same thing with Gone Girl. I just didn't like that one book by that one author.
And this is a perfect case of if you don't like one book by one author, it shouldn't.
Yeah.
Oh, a waffle? Did
What
I say
author?
that?
Wow.
Waffle. You like your waffers, then
Waffers.
that's gone even worse. Try another book because
Yes.
it doesn't mean that they're, especially if they're actually like, and I don't mean this against anyone who's self-published, but sometimes the writing matters. So if they're properly published as well, probably you might like another one. Not saying that against anyone self-published because the same thing might do, but if with self-published, it might be that you didn't enjoy the writing was my point, rather than not liking people that are self-published. Wow, I nearly got myself in a right little muddle then. Oh my
You
God,
are
I love
digging
it.
a hole, mate. You are
I know.
digging a fucking hole.
Put a fucking sock in my mouth and shut me up.
I understand what you're trying to say, though. I didn't.
Yeah.
Alex's writing style is great, and so is Gillian Flynn's, but it was just something about those 2 specific books that really rubbed me the wrong way, and I just couldn't get past it.
Just for anyone who did listen to Gone Girl, and I don't know if I moaned about this on the pods, the price of the Kindle book and
You
then
did.
the price of the actual book. And I don't know if I told the story, if I did walk from my house to a charity bookshop, I couldn't find the book. I wanted to go into town and I was like, oh, I can't be arsed. It's probably only like £4 on the Kindle, I'll just buy it. I went to said charity bookshop today and it doesn't mean it was there, but it was fucking there today and it really rolled me to the point that I
I would
sent
have
to say,
bought it,
yeah,
though. But I would have still bought it. You really enjoyed it. You should have had it up on the shelf.
no, it aggravated me. It actually annoyed me, but I did buy 8 other books, so I'm good.
That's good news. I have like 10 pre-orders, so I'm already ahead of you. I've got 5 books coming from Book of the Month. I haven't read my last 2 boxes of books. They're just going to sit there, rotting.
I've got so many lined up on my Kindle. I keep trying to remind my daughter that if you like, there is an author that she likes, that we like the Inheritance Game series. She's just been flying
Love that.
through them this week. She's flown through them and the 6th book is not out yet, but she does another series called The Naturals. Jennifer Lynn something, I think her name is. And I said to her, we're going to go on holiday in the distant future. And I was like, you should get them on the Kindle. Like, it's free. And then I think then she was like, so I can just, and I was like, yeah, so I've downloaded some already for her. and a couple of
Nice.
others. It's going to get her into Kindle reading. But what that will do to me is that will stop me having so many books on download, which is going to fuck me right off.
Yeah. It's
Not
not
gonna.
fun. But let's just round up the last of this book, okay? The
Yeah.
ending is where everyone's so-called magic is. I don't think that it's a plot twist when they literally just withheld all the information. I don't. The whole point of a plot twist is that there is little pieces of information that you glean all the way through. Now, I only found out it's only because of how my brain works that I even realized what had happened for the majority of it, but there was no clues. To have a plot twist, there has to be clues in there. There has to be. To have a book that just withholds all the information till the end is not a plot twist. And that is my biggest problem with this book, is that that's not a plot twist if you gave no hint towards it. It doesn't work like that. That's not how the trope works. It isn't. Like, you ask any author, you're supposed to put clues.
I suppose, again, it might depend what kind of reader you are, because to me, that was a twist. I was like, oh my God, I was right. It was Theo. And then, bam, he leaves. Bam, she does it. Bam, plot twist. That to
No,
me
that's
was a
not a plot
twist.
twist. That's
Because I
withheld
was,
information. All they did was withhold information from you. And that's not how plot twists are supposed to work.
to me, it done the job because I was sure that it was one thing. Then I knew it was Theo, and then I knew it wasn't Theo. So that to me was the twist. And I was quite happy
You're
with
so
it.
easy to please. You're so
I
easy to
am.
please. But
I am.
sometimes you're like, oh, yeah, I like that book, 3 stars. And I'm like, you are such a conundrum because I can never predict what you're going to say. Do you know that? I can never predict what you're going to say.
I don't think I ever really thought about it until we started talking about this more. I used to go off of the vibe and how I felt. So if I'm glued to a book, certain books I'm absolutely glued to. Like, check out next week's pod as well, by the way, because there is one on there that we will talk about and it's really good. So check that out. But some of them I'm so glued to that even if it's not like a perfect and it didn't all line up, I could still 5-star that book because I was hooked the whole time and I couldn't stop reading it. I'm
Yeah.
very much. I don't know if you call that vibe reading or mood reading. I just feel like it's how
You're
I
vibing.
felt at the time. Yeah,
Yeah,
is
you're
it vibe?
vibing. Yeah. That's how people review now, too. Like, this was something I had to get my head around. You used to have to break it down into like formats, but now it's like, how did it make you feel? What did that make you feel? How did you feel about that? Now, because apparently that's how people buy books.
But
Now, I
also
do it cover.
sorry,
I do the cover. I'm a vibe for covers. If the covers doesn't vibe with me, I will most likely not buy it. Got to pass
yeah,
the
I think
vibe check.
if you're in a bookshop, you get brought in by the cover first, right? That's just standard.
Yeah. Well, look at that.
But
Okay.
if I knew the author though, if I knew the author and was like, oh, that's the new, I've mentioned John Miles, so I say John Miles. But I hated the cover, I'd be like, oh, but I like it. I like his writing. So I would pick that. But if it was someone that I didn't know, that
Yeah.
I might not pick it up because
Do
I don't
window
know.
shopping.
Yeah, I like a window.
Shopping. It's interesting and it's actually a psychology, which is why when books, I'm not saying that all books do this, but apparently the reason that they started doing a lot of the sprayed edges were for books that weren't selling. So it's like, hey, this one's now out with a sprayed edge because people like me, and I have done it, buy it because it's fucking sprayed.
But
And it's
surely
like a
people
mindset.
want a sprayed edge though as well. Or is
Yes.
it just, do you know what I think? It might be these books are maybe, like when they did the Hunger Games. So to get people to buy all of the books, we'll be like, here's the new book, but also buy it in the newsletter and it's sprayed. My friend at work did it and they're very beautiful.
Yeah, they are. They're stunning. But they also did the Twilight ones with the white covers. I own Twilight. Why the fuck do I want it in white covers? It's sitting in my Amazon cart and I keep thinking about it. I'm never going to read Twilight again. But it just, I don't know. It's psychology and it works. It really
You
works.
have to avoid they wouldn't do it on a book that like wasn't even really doing well. It has to be, I'm not saying like big blockbuster books, but it has to be a bit
Like,
well to read.
but that's
Yeah.
why they do the sprayed edges. I'm telling you right now.
To
And
get
like,
more people to re-buy the same fucking book. It's clever.
or to even encourage people to buy it the first time round. I've got a book up there called The Half King. It sounds terrible. I'm not going to fucking read that, but it's sprayed, so it's sitting up there. Because it was on Book Outlet. Book Outlet had it on their sale, their $8 sale. And I'm like, fuck it, I need free shipping. So I dumped it in. And it's pretty, it's up there. But I did like, and this is classic Stacey. I have the Fourth Wing books. So I have two regular ones, and then the limited edition spray one with the dragons, and I've got like them turned in. So it says Fourth Wing, dragons, Iron Flame, dragons, Onyx Storm. And now I'm like, well, I need an Onyx Storm to turn the dragons out when book 4 comes out. Mike's like, oh my God.
Well, setting it up. Oh, they're setting it up well.
But that means I've got 2 copies of each. Fuck it back.
You need to show me this later.
Yeah, well, it's fine. But I still only gave it 2 stars. I was
because
hoping
genre misrecognition, not because you didn't like the book. And I think that's important.
Yes, but I also think it's important for authors and publishers to get the genres correct. If it had said it's a mystery thriller with psychological blah blah after, I wouldn't have gone in with a certain mindset. And once Stacey makes up her Leo brain, Stacey's Leo brain's like, fuck you. So yeah, I think you're right. If it had come out as a mystery thriller, I probably would have been more like, because the mystery would have been where it was. It's waiting for the twists and the turns and it amps up and then it slows back and it pulls you in and pulls you back out again.
Yeah, I do understand what you mean, because I've definitely had books that do that to me. And I don't think this does that to you, but there's certainly a lot of intrigue and a lot of mystery and a lot of questions.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do agree with you. I think if you're like me, that you're not a reader that goes in like fully like, I want this book to be this.
Yeah.
Well, I think anything that's classified a thriller, I'm like, I like it. I'm cool.
Yeah.
Good.
But you're not, what do you expect from a thriller? If I said to you, hey, I have a thriller book, what does your mind conjure when I say the word thriller? What are you expecting?
I'm expecting to wonder what's happening, not know what's happening.
Okay. And that's it. That's all you expect. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's all you expect. Whereas for me, I've built up this expectation in my head, which is one of the reasons why now when I get art copies of books, I look to see what the title is and what genre they've placed it in, and I take that with a grain of salt, because NetGalley right now calls mystery thrillers together. So I don't even have an anticipation of what I'm reading, because I find I get really depressed. Now, The Silent Patient, after reading it and hating it, when I read, because I read The Fury next, that was my second book in his world, I went in expecting it not to be a thriller. So I went in with no expectations and I really fucking enjoyed it. So I think that's why I have to go in blind, because otherwise I have preconceived notions and I get really salty.
I do get that, because if someone says to you, oh my God, this is the best thing you'll ever read, the best, 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 best. And then you read it and you're like, what? And as well, if you tell someone, like, if you're recommending a book, I read this, that someone wrote this, and I was like, I told her how good all the twists are in this book. And then that person went in reading going, I'm looking for all these twists.
Yeah.
Be careful when you're recommending books of how much I wouldn't say amp it, like how much you're like amping it up, but how much you're telling like what might come, because then it does kind of ruin the vibe. And I really do understand what you're saying, but I do still think you're fucking wrong. It was a good book.
In with a different mindset this time, and I still couldn't get on board with it.
Like it.
No, I didn't. I was glad it was over. It wasn't like Gone Girl painful, okay? If I had to put it in a battle with who's going to win, Gone Girl or Silent Patient, like there is no competition there. But with Gone Girl, I could actually see, no, the Gone Girl, I could see the genius.
Gone Girl.
What?
It was better than The Silent Patient.
No, Silent Patient was better than Gone Girl. But no, see, we're always going to have fucking fists a duking. For me, Gone Girl, I could see what the author was trying to do. Silent Patient, I could see that they did it by just withholding information, and I didn't appreciate that either. Gone Girl, at least she dropped the clues. There were hints. If you had looked, you saw the droplets of her trying to lead you in one direction, but really the truth was there as well. Whereas this book, he just withheld it from you, and I think that's really shitty. Again, he didn't even tell us there were 2 timelines. So I don't agree with that. So you're never going to convince me of that. But now I know what he gets up to.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I still like we're disagreeing on books, because for the first however many episodes we've done, we're actually quite similar in taste. And the last couple, so like on the fence of like these popular book. We're like, if you go back and listen to our episodes of How to Kill Men and Get Away with It, that's a really popular one that we do. We both love that style of book, don't we? We both really enjoyed it. So it's quite funny now, and probably a little bit more interesting for us as well, that we have these different takes, and I'm quite enjoying it.
Well, you know what? I can't wait to do Verity because I get the feeling again. Like, I quite enjoyed Verity. I have a very specific opinion about that book. But I also know that some people reread it and changed their minds. So I'm interested to see how I'm going to feel about a book you've never read. And there's this whole story about, like, is it team manuscript or team letter? And the internet was divided on it. And it's brilliant because the author never tells you. She leaves it up to you to decide.
I'm going into this book blind, as in I've only heard what people have said. And to be honest, around me, I haven't heard good vibes.
No.
So I'm going into this. We're doing this the next one, right? So like in a couple of weeks. Is this our next
Yeah.
plan?
Yeah, I
Should we
think
make
it was, wasn't it? Yeah, I
Yeah.
think we did pick Verity by Colin Hoover.
Let's do this the next plan. So I'm going in. I haven't read any Colin Hoover for one. I don't actually even know what this book is about.
Okay, so Colin Hoover writes romance books, like toxic romance books. This is not that.
Oh, okay, good, because that's not my vibe. But yeah, so if you want to check us out for our next main pod episode, main pod is always where we do like a massive book review, like this one. So we always do that every other week. And then next week will be our mini pod where we try and pick like 4 to 6 different books, depending on how much time we've got. And we talk to you about different books, but we don't spoil them ones, or we try not to anyway.
We've also
So make sure you go and listen to all the different variations of stuff that we do.
and we're going to be doing our top 3 thrillers of the year so far and our bottom 3 thrillers of the year so far as well, just to give you a little break in what we're getting up
This
to.
is going to be really hard for me. Like, I've been thinking about this, and I'm obviously not going to name any books now. You're going to have to tune in the next few weeks to find out our top 3 and low 3. I already know some of my lows, and if you've been listening, you'll know as well. Top 3, I'm sort of struggling a little bit.
Well, you're going to have to do it. You're going to have to do it.
We're going to do it. So make sure you tune in. Also, if you like the vibes, if you're enjoying listening to us, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment, do all that bollocks. You know the one we've told you many times, especially share with your friends, especially book club. Let people know and let us know in the comments what you think.
Yep, and you should definitely come and get the more unhinged stuff on our Patreon, which is Bookslayers with Betty and Bonny. We hope that you guys have the reading week you deserve, and we hope that you'll catch us next week. Take care, readers.
See you soon.